I don't know anything about computers, so this is going to be interesting.
We should ask somebody else to help then.
Yeah, but that would be a great idea.
Yeah. Hey everybody, thanks for joining in today for SketchUp Live. My name's Josh. This is Aaron over here.
Hey guys.
We are talking about operating systems, hardware, and peripherals with SketchUp. So what are peripherals and how do you spell that?
I spell it with a P. Auto spell does the rest.
Okay.
Peripheral, I mean, we're talking about basically everything you need to run SketchUp outside of the software. We're going to talk about the software that runs the software, operating systems, computers, laptops, workstations, mice, 3D mice, keyboards, tablets, basically everything that happens around SketchUp and is going to get you the most out of SketchUp. So the thing we're going to start with is talking about operating systems.
Yeah, so two big ones are Mac and Windows. There's really no one right answer, I don't think, is there?
Well, all right, so we're probably not supposed to do this, right? But we're going to maybe get in trouble. We may lose our jobs for this, but I'm going to go ahead and say that there is a preferred operating system. SketchUp does do a great job of supporting both OS and Windows, but the number one, the best software operating system that you can use is something that we'll tell you right after this commercial break.
I'm curious.
I thought that went well.
Yeah.
We're back. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. So the best operating system you can use is the one that you like the best. Yeah. So SketchUp does 100% fully support both OS and Windows, runs great on either one. There are some extensions out there that maybe are Windows only. There's a couple, so if you have an extension you have to use, and it only supports Windows, then of course you're going to want to go to Windows. If you're a Mac enthusiast, you like Mac, use Mac. So really,
yeah,
whatever you like.
So it's more about why would you choose Mac versus Windows. People that use Mac, sometimes they like it because you buy a Mac and it just kind of turn it on and it goes.
What's your preferred operating system?
I'm currently using a Mac, but sometimes I have to teach SketchUp on Windows, so you know, I'm a little friendlier with Mac probably.
All right.
You know, Windows is out there, so got to use it too. But yeah, I think a big consideration if you're wondering what to use is with Mac, you kind of have a limited upgrade path. So when you buy a Mac, up front you're making the call on kind of what's in the computer. You don't have a lot of
upgrade
ability.
path, you're talking about like swappable hardware inside the computer.
Yeah, if you're a tinkerer or maker kind of person, with a Mac you can't jump in there and swap out components as easily. So yeah, up front you're making the call on what's in the computer, whereas on Windows it's a little more customizable. So that's kind of a big reason why someone might choose Mac versus Windows.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
That's a double-edged sword. Somebody wants to get in there and take stuff apart.
Yeah.
Versus somebody who just wants to grab it and not worry about those sort of things.
Yeah. As far as SketchUp is concerned, a big one that people ask about is PDF support. And there is some differences with Mac and Windows for PDF. And really it's what SketchUp can access based on the operating system. It's not SketchUp making a call like, you know, we don't want to support this versus that on the different versions. It's more about what we can kind of sync into as far as the OS and what it lets us do. So if you've used both platforms, you probably know that on Mac, a little bit different PDF situation with Windows. Both you can export PDFs, so it's the importing of PDFs is a little bit different. With Mac OS, there's a bit more robust graphics library, so where SketchUp is able to do a little bit more because of that.
Right. This basically comes down to Mac has native support for PDF. So SketchUp doesn't have to do anything special to use the PDFs. We just get to use what the operating system is already using and get it in there. With Windows, Windows by itself doesn't support creation of PDFs, so you have to use some third-party software to do that, and we don't want to require third-party in order for you to install and run SketchUp.
But a big thing I want to point out with all of this is, regardless of using Mac versus Windows, you'll still always have the best output of SketchUp when you use layout, because layout you can do the hybrid render, so you get vector and raster at the same time. So no matter what, use layout for the best output of SketchUp.
Right.
And that's Mac or Windows, so either way, you can use layout.
That's good.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that we are using Macs, if you've seen our computers, we do, of course, fully support Windows and have a lot of Windows users. Windows, some of the things we touched on, Windows machines are upgradable. You can swap out, add RAM, swap out video cards, whatever you want to do. It's easier to get inside of a Windows machine and make changes. One of the conditions that we do run into a lot has to do with the graphics cards. So everything that SketchUp puts to the screen is done so using OpenGL 3.0. 3.0 as of version 2018. This is just something to keep in mind. Most video cards from the major suppliers, NVIDIA or AMD, do support OpenGL 3.0, so it's usually not an issue. We do have more and more people who are running into problems using either of those cards in certain machine types. So the issue that ends up happening is if you go to the store and you buy a computer from a manufacturer, what they do is they actually certify things like drivers, what drivers work with their hardware. And they distribute that with hardware that works with OpenGL, but with a driver that maybe was before OpenGL 3.0. So these machines end up going out, and while they should run everything perfectly fine, because of the manufacturer's supplied drivers, there's an issue. So the way around this, of course, is just to manually upgrade to a version of the driver that does support OpenGL 3.0. So if you are running a Windows machine and never run into problems with graphics, black screens or stuttering graphics, or you click on select and nothing happens for a few seconds, it's most likely an issue with running an older version of the driver which doesn't support OpenGL 3.0.
This is a good time to mention that if all of this is a little bit, a lot of info thrown at you, our forum is a great place to go in and ask the community about this kind of stuff. So if you're a Windows user and this is all new in terms of managing the drivers and stuff, go to our forum and there'll be a lot of people there that want to help out and tell you more about what you should do.
And right now, we are on live, so if you have questions come up or we didn't go into enough information about something, go ahead and post a question. We have both Ty and Casey and our knowledge team answering questions as they come in, and if your question's good enough, it may just end up on the air. So, something to shoot for.
All right, so next thing we're talking about is a gaming rig. So a gaming rig sounds pretty awesome.
It does.
If I can, do an awesome game on my computer, it's probably great at SketchUp, right?
A lot of people think this, but again, it comes down to that support for OpenGL 3.0. So you may have some super high-end monster machine with multiple video cards and all kinds of stuff, and it runs the newest games, lightning fast, 6 million frames per second or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, if it doesn't support OpenGL 3.0, it's not going to run SketchUp. So a lot of people think just because they have a better graphics machine, it's going to be better. But unfortunately, when it comes to running SketchUp, that may not be the case.
Yeah, true. What about processors?
This is a question we hear a lot. A lot of people want multi-processor support. A lot of computers nowadays come with multi-core processors, and that's awesome. That really is great. But the fact of the matter is that 3D rendering that model and putting it on your screen is a single-threaded process. It's not just for us. This isn't just a SketchUp thing. This is any 3D drawing package that's out there. That rendering of that thing on your screen is one thread. We do have there's other softwares out there that brag about being multi-threaded. What that probably means is they do some other thing. They do rendering, or they do something with calculating, data or something like that that can be multi-threaded. But that actual process of putting a picture on your screen of a 3D model is a single-threaded process. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't get a multi-core processor. It just means that 3D graphics, 3D creation software like SketchUp can only take advantage of one core at a time. So if you're buying a machine just for SketchUp, it's better to get a higher-end, lower core, fewer cores than to get multiple cores that are possibly lower in capability individually.
Yeah. Also, a note about the Windows side is when you install SketchUp, you want to install it and run it as an administrator. Mm-hmm. And that might be a new thing to some people, that step has to happen, and there's actually a little bit of some more details there.
Yeah, and just to clarify, run as administrator is something you do when you get the installer. So you get that installer, rather than just double-clicking on it to install, you're going to right-click, click Run as Administrator. Some people go, oh, I don't have to do that. I have administrative rights on my computer. There's a difference. It actually means the installer is running with administrative rights rather than you. Trust me on this one. Right-click, Run as Administrator when you're installing, and possibly even right-click and Run as Administrator when you're running. So, just an important thing. Some people get hung up on that on Windows. Not an issue on Mac. Something to worry about for Windows, though.
Yeah.
All right. So next thing we want to talk about is, so you already made a decision. I got Mac or I got Windows. You know where you're going. Next thing is form factor. So two obvious choices are, do you want a laptop notebook, or do you want a workstation, a desktop machine? What's the ideal solution there?
Well, that basically means if you're going to be mobile, you probably want a laptop. However, I've seen someone bring a desktop computer to a training, so it's also mobile, just maybe less convenient.
Technically, if it's not bolted to the floor, it's mobile.
Just get a wheelbarrow and put all the stuff in it, and you're mobile. Yeah, it's just preference there, just like everything else.
Yeah. One of the things to think about too is most people don't just run SketchUp; they run something else, and that's where form factor may come in. If you are going to be doing a ton of rendering and you have a high-end, super photorealistic render in mind and that sort of thing, that's somewhere you may want to consider a workstation and take advantage of just more horsepower. If you spend a lot of time going to clients and showing them SketchUp models and working together with them, then of course you're going to want to maybe look at using a laptop instead.
Yeah, and if you have a Windows laptop, maybe you have a docking station, it might be good to know that in some cases the docking station has its own video card that might take over when you plug it in, which isn't a problem. It just means you have to tell the computer which one you want it to use. But it is a problem if you don't know what's happening. So if you have a docking station and you're seeing some issues, maybe take a look at that being what's happening.
And not every docking station has its own integrated graphics, but sometimes they do, and sometimes they take charge, and sometimes they don't support OpenGL 3.0. Recurring theme, I don't know if you guys caught that.
And it's just the computer trying to, I think the two graphics cards are an option. It goes with a low power version to save power, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And something else to consider, this is something that I have been playing with for the last few days, and this is a Microsoft Surface. So SketchUp itself, SketchUp Pro the app, does not run on mobile operating systems. So I can't put it on an iPad or an Android or anything like that. But technically this is a tablet that runs Windows. So that means I can actually run SketchUp and use it like a tablet. So I can actually use the stylus. I can flip it around open like this and use it without a keyboard. Kind of a nice option because it's halfway between using something like a straight up tablet and using a Windows machine. So if something like tablet-like support is real important to you, take a look at the Microsoft Surface because they do, for the most part, run SketchUp, and you kind of get the best of both worlds this way. So something else to think about.
What about displays?
Yeah, so one of the things that's out there right now is higher and higher resolution displays. So right now I think you can get a 4K monitor for like almost nothing. I mean they're a little more expensive, but not terribly expensive. So it is easier to get higher and higher resolution monitors. A lot of people really like that. It's a lot of great things about that. It really depends on what you prefer. SketchUp does have high-res support, but a lot of people have noted that when they go to real high-resolution view, they end up with small icons, and a single pixel line is the size of a human hair on the screen, so it can be kind of rough, but it really depends on how good your eyesight is and what other things you're going to use it for.
Yeah, we recently got one in our, I'll say recording studio, but it's a
little black room.
Yeah, it's where videos happen, SketchUp videos. So we got a nice big monitor, and we're pretty excited about it. And Aaron did a skill builder, and there were complaints about it being a little bit hard to see because it was too awesome.
I think the first 4 videos were, I can't see anything, your resolution's too high. So I dropped it to half of what it could do, still had issues. So we actually dropped it to the lowest possible setting and recorded on that. It's still a nice big screen and everything looks great on it, but we don't take advantage of the super high resolution that it can show.
So there's one skill builder out there that is very tiny.
Or I can tell you which one it is, you have to go watch them all to find out. So having said that though, I do usually recommend people end up using multiple monitors. I mean, it doesn't have to be a 4K monitor, but if you're using a laptop, having a second monitor, if you have a desktop, using 2 monitors rather than 1.
Yeah, as far as workflows with SketchUp, everybody has different stuff they're doing, but I've always found 2 monitors is essential for lots of reasons. For let's say you've got a reference sketch or something on one side and you're drawing a sketch on the other. or you have some notes on one and you're drawing in SketchUp and you kind of leave SketchUp on one window.
Or iTunes,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, important stuff.
yeah. So that's pretty useful. You'd be surprised at how much more productive you can be and fast. And furthermore, if you're using a layout, it's awesome to have SketchUp and layout on dedicated monitors. And you're working on one model and composing stuff in layout, composing the pages and all that stuff, making a change in SketchUp if you need to, updating the model reference. So if you can, that's pretty efficient to have two monitors.
Yeah, I know when I did production type work, it was great to have a PDF or something like that of the plans, rather than having a bunch of paper, plans on one screen, SketchUp on the other, and you just turn your head to look at the reference images.
Yeah, so it's worth the investment if you're just kind of trying to squeeze everything on one screen, get a cheap monitor and just see how it goes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, up next.
Oh yeah, what about this thing with all the letters and numbers?
Right, let's talk about keyboards. So this is the keyboard I use. So we use, obviously, like Josh pointed out, we're Mac users, so I just use the standard wireless keyboard or the keyboard that's actually on the Mac, depending on what I'm doing. SketchUp was created to run with keyboard shortcuts. It's kind of how to take advantage of all that SketchUp is just using your finger to tap a key, type in numbers. There's really not a whole lot to say about keyboards.
There's a little thing maybe I want to add.
Okay.
On the new Macs, just be aware of this. I'm not going to make fun of it. It's just, you probably want to think about it if you, with SketchUp, you know, the top row is now touchpad type.
There's no function keys, no escape
Yeah,
key.
so not having a tactile escape key, I don't like it personally, but just think about that. Maybe go into the store first and try to see what's going on before you buy it, because I like using the escape key and spacebar, and that's how I get inside and outside of groups in SketchUp. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
And the other thing to consider is if you take a look at a full-size keyboard, is this 10 keypad over here. So while the compact keyboards or notebook keyboards have the number key or the arrow keys, most of them don't have this 10 keypad over here. The 10 keypad is real nice for putting in dimensions. Anytime you have to add numbers to add, it's great rather than having to jump up and move around the keypads or the numbers up here at the top. So not a requirement by any means at all. But if you're used to 10 keypad and your brain thinks, you know, I can just think of numbers and my fingers jump to those numbers, then having that 10 keypad's really kind of nice. So again, not a requirement, but something you may want to consider if you're in the process of buying a new keyboard, something like that. You do not have to go and get a high-end programmable keyboard or anything like that. I know some people, there's keyboards out there for like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it should probably light up. That seems like a necessary thing.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
All right.
I'm going to break every piece of hardware as I set it down on the ground there. There's a pile forming.
So more peripherals. What do we got here?
3D mice. This is something we get a lot of questions about. So if you guys have seen our videos, we do try to use 3D mice when we create all of our skill builder videos. So not a requirement, but this is a nice add-on to SketchUp.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So some of you may have seen these. It looks like this. Basically a puck. It's pretty heavy on the bottom, so it can stay stationary as you use it. And if you can see my screen here as I cruise around, basically lets you fly around your model kind of like a bird, just cruising around. And it's really, I think the best use of it, in my opinion, is for presentation. So if you're not comfortable using that with an external mouse and using SketchUp with two things like that, at least consider doing this if you show SketchUp a lot to clients, customers, your friend. It's a much nicer experience to kind of float around the model than some of the jerky movements that you may be okay with you as you're modeling. You kind of got used to it, but when you're showing someone else your idea, it's actually pretty cool to be able to just float smoothly through it. You'd be surprised at how much better it comes off in terms of communicating what you're talking about.
Right. If you notice when Josh was moving it too, it's not like a full hand crank to move around. It's real subtle, teeny movements. You can just kind of slightly touch that cap and it moves around. It's kind of nice. It does take a little bit of practice though. You do have to get used to it.
Yeah.
So this mouse that Josh is showing right here is the 3D Connection Space Navigator. There are other manufacturers of 3D mice. This is not the only one, but this is what we use a lot of in the SketchUp headquarters. One of the nice things about this is when you install the driver for this on your computer, it automatically installs a driver, an extension inside of SketchUp, so it takes advantage of this. So well worth looking at. If you are going to go grab a 3D mouse, I would start with 3D Connection and give it a shot.
Yeah. Let's see. Another note about this is, you know, it's not real light, but it is still size-wise good to travel with. So it's something that you can bring with you if you're traveling on a plane or something like that. But I will note that I've got some weird reactions to having this in my backpack going through security. Twice I've been stopped, and the security people are like, "What is that?" And I try to explain it, and they still don't know what it is. And after a few minutes, I'm on my way, but it's kind of weird. It's hard to explain.
So
this
it's a
to someone
conversation piece, you're saying?
Yeah, but
All
yeah,
right.
this looks weird in the X-ray machine, I think.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
So another option, also available from 3D Connection. This is their top of the line, I don't know if you use the term flagship product, but this is the Space Mouse Enterprise. So this same basic functionality, I have a mouse here, or a cap here, that as I move it around, I'm using this backwards right now, so you'll have
So look
to...
how good he is.
That's right. Let's go backwards with the opposite hand. Ooh.
Nice.
So you can see, same thing as I move around, it does take those subtle movements of the cap and apply them to the model. So it is basically, function-wise, same thing as what Josh showed. But obviously, there's additional functionality here because I have all these buttons all the way around. So some of these buttons are replacements for keyboard buttons. So I do have like Escape, the modifier keys, Shift, Control, Alt here, Enter. There's a spacebar button and a delete button, which is great because I don't have to jump over to the mouse to do this. One of the issues with 3D mice is if your left hand is over here on the 3D mouse, your right hand is over on your standard mouse, you lose your keyboard hand. So what the Enterprise lets you do is get those keys back. So as I'm holding it like this, I can easily reach over and tap buttons with my fingers. Up at the top here are 12 programmable buttons. So I can put any command I want on here. In fact, if you look, it's maybe kind of hard to see, but on the screen, it's actually showing me what each of these commands is mapped to. So these are the tools that I use, there we go, inside of SketchUp. Pretty cool. I think I counted there's 30 plus buttons you can program on here. So that's, for the most part, how many keys I use. I mean, I do not have every single command I ever use ever mapped on here, but I'd say that the commands that I use regularly when modeling in SketchUp are on here. So I very rarely am jumping back and forth between the 3D mouse and the keyboard. So I don't know if it's a replacement for the keyboard. You can do stuff with 3D Connection's mouse, like pull up an on-screen keypad. You can program it with on-screen. You can hit a button and it'll pull up a little dial of on-screen buttons you can click with your mouse. So there's some cool options. They've definitely not just given you the 3D rotation, but taken into account the fact that you're losing your keyboard hand when you're using it. So it is pretty cool, worth looking at. And like you said, it's a question of, are you just going to use it for presentation? That's where you're going to go with the standard Space Navigator. If it's going to be a real production tool and take you to the next level, speed you up, get better production work out of you quicker, then it's worth looking at something like the Enterprise. All right.
What happens if you don't have anything, no peripherals plugged into SketchUp? Are you just out of luck?
Go home for the day.
Yeah.
Try again tomorrow.
Okay.
Unless you have a notebook, because then you cannot be peripheral-less. That did not roll off the tongue as well as I was thinking it was going to. Peripheral-free? No, still didn't work.
Yeah, that's, one of them will work.
Then you have a trackpad, which some people can use quite well in SketchUp.
Yeah. Let's take a look at how you might do that.
How one might.
Move some things around here. Hopefully I don't unplug this thing, this whole production. Okay, that's a good view. So if you see the keyboard here, it's going to look weird, but if you try it, it's actually, you kind of get used to it. So if you don't have a mouse, if you're on an airplane or something, if you tap Control, Command, and then click and drag. You can orbit like that. And then you can get to the shift key and pan, let go of the shift, orbit. So you can do that if you need to. I'm sure it looks like, why would you want to do that? But if you need to, it's actually a nice little shortcut that allows you to navigate SketchUp. So again, that's Control Command, click drag, and then you can use Shift to pan.
So it's not some people do actually, I've seen people post on the forum that they use trackpads every day to do design.
Yeah, which...
That's good for them, I guess.
Yeah, if that works for you, go for it. If anybody knows Eric Schimmelfennig, he's a trackpad ninja. I think he only uses the trackpad, and he's pretty good. So it's possible.
I guess it's possible then.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, like you said, I know I've used the trackpad a lot of times in airports or something like that where I'm traveling, sitting on a plane. It's nice to have if you have nothing else, because there's just sometimes where pulling out a mouse, no matter how small your compact travel mouse is, it's just not an option. There's not a space to do that. So
Yeah.
it is a good thing to fall back on.
Yeah. So give that a try, because sometime you may have to give a presentation in SketchUp and you don't have your mouse. So it's good to practice, because you don't want to be, just looking at a static image if you can spin around.
So another thing, this is actually hardware we get a lot of questions about. This is just a Wacom tablet. A lot of people ask, do we support tablets? And we do. We support them basically as mice. We do have some people. There are a lot of people out there. We have some people in-house. Tyson, does Nick Sonder uses a tablet?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who use just tablets to use SketchUp. My recommendation would still be to fall back onto a standard 3-button mouse. But if you have a tablet, we will absolutely support it. There's a great upside to it if you do use it for other programs. If you're an illustrator, you like to draw, Photoshop, Illustrator, anything like that, tablets are great. They're absolutely essential. The issue that we run into with tablets, or that I personally run into with tablets, is one of the things I can do with my mouse is click, release, and move it in a direction that I want to draw a line, for example, and then take my hand off and go type in a number. A little bit more of an issue here, because to hold the cursor still, you kind of have to hover and then maybe pick straight up off to release the hold of the point. It's a little too tricky for my brain. People out there are obviously doing it and doing an awesome job with it. So it's just one of those things you want to try and evaluate before you commit to it. But we do support tablets, and there's actually some customization you can do with the buttons on a tablet, the buttons on the stylus. So it is something to consider. If you already have a tablet and you're using it, it's worth trying for SketchUp as well.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So we got that thing right there. That's a one mouse option.
So this is not a bar of soap. This is the Magic Mouse. So I don't know if you guys have seen this or used this before. It is teeny tiny. It definitely has some nice sides to it. It's very easy to travel with. It's compact. It is a multi-button mouse despite having only one surface here. There's a little bit of a touch sensor in here, so you can do things like scroll across the top, click, drag, that kind of thing. It does technically work in SketchUp.
Yeah.
Having said that, I struggled a little bit when using this with the profile, because it is so flat. At first it feels real good, but after using this for an hour or so, I started to kind of get this weird ache in my hand. And I think it's just the angle that you have to hold it at. You have to literally put your palm down on the table and then just rest your fingers on there. Maybe I just need smaller hands or something.
Yeah, and as far as the middle button thing and not being there, it's still there as a touch feature, but having a tactile roll button is actually pretty nice in SketchUp. It's, of course people use this, but
Right.
it's definitely worth, trying another mouse that has a tactile actual button and just seeing the difference.
Yeah, it will work, but like I said, SketchUp, when it was designed, the whole concept of SketchUp was you don't need any special hardware or special training. Anybody can learn it, anybody can use it, and that really came down to using a 3-button mouse and your keyboard. So that's kind of in SketchUp's DNA. So while there are some other solutions that we've seen, 3D mouse is a great addition. Functionally, good old-fashioned 3-button mouse is possibly preferred.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
having
sure.
said that,
I haven't discovered the magic in the Magic Mouse, so it's probably my fault.
it disappeared from my desk.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But yeah, speaking of that kind of a mouse, I'm all tangled up here, but this is my old friend that I really like. Got him back in 2008, and he's still with me, and works just fine. Probably cost $10.
Yeah, that's what we call the just a $10 3-button mouse. So this is the kind of stuff that you get basically in the box when you buy a computer, and this is simple. A little laser on the bottom, couple buttons and a wheel on the top. This mouse right here will work in SketchUp. You will be able to do all your animating, orbiting, all that stuff with the simplest mouse. And the nice thing about this is there's no batteries. You plug it in the USB, it just works. We have people who are like Josh who have had the same mouse for years and years and years, spent almost nothing on it.
Look at this beauty. Zoom in there.
It works great. So there's no reason not to use a 3-button mouse unless you just prefer one of the other things we talked about.
An added bonus to a mouse like this is no one's going to steal this. Probably.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah. That's what I like about it.
So taking this concept to the next level, though, we do have mice like this. This is...
Comes in blue as well.
That's right. You have options. This is the MX Master. So the nice thing about the MX Master is that it not only has all the basic functionalities, you have the 2 buttons, scroll right here, they actually add some other functionality. If you turn on the side right here, there's this little thumb rest, which is nice because my thumb gets tired, but the thumb rest is actually a button too. So if we take a look at what's going on in SketchUp right now, oh, I got to switch. If we look at what's going on in SketchUp right now, I actually have a series of shortcuts mapped to my, my buttons on my mouse. So if I'm in a command like draw a line and I want to switch to, say, select, all I have to do is tap my thumb down and I'm in select. Really nice. Up here at the top, right above it, it's kind of hard to see, but there's 2 little tiny buttons right here. And I can actually use them to toggle to draw a line, or the one below it to switch to eraser. So real quick, without really having to move my thumb much, I switch between 2 of my most commonly used commands, or 3 if I include select by tapping. To take this a step further, if I click on that thumb button that brought me to select, and I drag up, down, left, or right, it's going to actually toggle to different commands. So I have 4 commands on there. If I click and drag up, I go to move, click and drag down, I go to push pull, click and drag to the right is rectangle, click and drag to the left is rotate. So those commands, those 5, 6, 7 commands are all done by my thumb without ever having my hand leave the mouse. So it's kind of a nice option there. And that's all customizable. You can set whatever controls you want on there. The other thing is this is a Bluetooth mouse, so I don't have to worry about plugging in a receiver or anything like that. I know that they have that Unify receiver, Logitech does, which is really nice, but this is just all straight through Bluetooth. I can actually sync this with up to 3 devices too. I only have 1 computer, so...
Yeah, this is a cool feature because when we do skill builders and if we're going Mac and Windows, it's pretty awesome. Just tap that button and another computer, you can right away be using the mouse.
So it's a pretty cool option. They also have this thing, I think it's called like the dark field laser or something like that, where this will actually work on clear glass. Because I don't know if you've ever hit that, but if you've gone to a customer site and gone to use your mouse and it turns out they have a glass tabletop on their conference room table, then you're back to the trackpad at that point. But this is kind of nice because I actually did play with it. You can actually go on a clear piece of glass and use it. It's pretty cool. So it's a little more expensive, but if you're in SketchUp all day, this is the kind of investment that's going to make it worth it for you. The other thing is I really like the way it fits in my hand. Like my hand kind of rides over the whole top of it. It's very comfortable for me. And if I'm doing some input for 4, 5, 6 hours at a time, I have never walked away from this feeling like, oh, my hand aches or anything like that.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
Hit with smaller mice.
To me, that's the most important thing in a mouse is just the shape and how your hand can rest on it. Oh, and if you have a lot of these things happening, you might want one of these. Pretty cheap, just let you plug in more things.
Right.
Oh, my favorite peripheral, tunes. If you're SketchUpping, you need some tunes. So that's my favorite.
A very good point. Absolutely. So we did have a couple questions come in. Oh, a point that we just brought up is batteries. So if you have wireless peripherals, it is probably a good idea to throw an extra set of batteries in because, yeah, it's rough to get to a customer spot and find out your keyboard's dead or your mouse is dead or something like that. Or in the case of the MX Master, it actually has a USB card that charges the internal batteries. But not that I want to get, talk this up too much, but I think one charge lasts about a week and a half on here, so I don't have to charge it very often. That's kind of nice.
Also, we should mention that if you want to see some more information on hardware, software recommendations, if you go to our help center and just type in hardware, you'll see a page there that talks about not just the minimum requirements, but what we recommend. So you can see what you certainly need to have to run SketchUp properly, and then some things we recommend. So go there if you're about to buy a computer and you want some just numbers to take into the store or to just reference as you buy.
Yeah.
And again, the forum too is perhaps a better place actually to ask those questions.
We did have one question come in from Josh Perez, who asked how much RAM is recommended. I think the minimum is 8, but I could stand corrected. I know on my machine I have 16. I think you're the same.
Yeah.
RAM is one of those things that is something that will help you run better. So assuming you have graphics taken care of, more RAM means bigger models are going to run quicker, that sort of thing. So RAM has always been one of those things that I have been okay investing a little bit more money into my own machines because it's almost always going to bring the computer up, work a little bit better. So
Yeah. And it's probably obvious at this point, but all the things we've talked about, there's really no one right answer. Just like in SketchUp, there's not one right way to do a lot of things. So we're hoping to just show you a bunch of options here, and even just Mac Windows thing, where there really isn't a better option. It's really what you prefer, and we hope that we've showed some good stuff here.
Yeah, hopefully you got some things on your Christmas list to ask for.
There's probably some other cool thing to plug in that we don't know about, but
yeah. Hey, if you have thoughts, ideas like that, we'd love to hear about them. Comment here on Facebook, or this video will end up on YouTube at some point. So hey, YouTubers. I just realized I called a bunch of our users tubers. Potato humor. I don't know. But yeah, I think other than that,
yeah.
that is we have gone through our pile of hardware.
What is the radius am I okay here, standing back this far?
Man, when I try science, you have to step further back than that.
Okay.
Probably put some safety glasses on too. That stuff gets weird. Yeah, I think we're there.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming by. Everybody have a happy holiday, happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2018.
See you next time.